Um, Good morning, everyone. Today I am going to present part 3 of Management of Developmental Disorder, in which I will cover cerebral palsy. In the content are definition, history, epidemiology, incidence, etiology, motor impairment, classification, clinical manifestation, oral manifestation, systemic manifestation, diagnosis, investigations, and the management. Now, start with the cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy, it is according to the American Academy of the Cerebral Palsy and the Development Medicine, it is a non-progressive disorder of the development of the movement and the posture, which causing the active limitation that are attributed to the non-progressive disturbances that occur in the developing fetal or an infant brain. The motor disorder of the cerebral palsy are often accompanied by the disturbances of the sensation, cognitions, and the communications preparations, or by the seizure disorder. Now, cerebrals, in a Latin word, it is a cerebrum, means affected a part of a brain. And a palsy, according to Greek, the para means beyond and license means loosening, means lack of the muscle control. Now, the cerebral palsy affected mainly movement, coordination, muscle strength, balance, and the posture. Now, the symptoms are associated generally with the cerebral palsy patient. We can see that he is having a problem with the walking, muscle movement, motor imbalance, then eating problem, feeding problem in infant, feeding problem, sucking problem. Also, there is a not coordination between the eye and also speech and intellectual ability also hamper. Now, starting with the history, in 1830, Dr. William John Little was the first to work on the cerebral palsy. In 1843, Dr. Little started talking on the spasticity rigidity. Then, in 1853, Dr. Little published on the value and the treatment of the deformities of the human brain, where he spoke about the capability of the restorations of the congenital birth defect. Now, in 1861, a definitions of the cerebral spastic was established by the Dr. Little. In his talk to the Obstetrical Society of the London, the Little began to work on the cerebral palsy and named it as a Little disease, where his work is referred to only one form of the CP. And the term cerebral palsy was coined by the Sir William Osler. Now, in 1889, the Sir William Osler published his book and the cerebral palsies of the children that spoke about other form of the cerebral palsy, unlike Little disease. In 1891, Dr. Sigmund Freud, along with the Osler Lie, published the clinical study of the cerebral palsy of the children. In 1893, Dr. Freud published on the knowledge about the cerebral dysplasia of the childhood age. In 1897, Dr. Freud stated that the cerebral palsy might be caused due to the cerebral hypoxia at the birth time. Because at the birth time, if there is a intrauterine injury, there will be a oxygen hamper, so there will be a hypoxia at the birth time, and gave the term of the infantile cerebral palsy. Now, the epidemiology, it is the most cerebral palsy. It is the most common cause of the childhood disability in the Western society, and the incidence is 2 to 2.5 per 1,000 live births. The incidence of the cerebral palsy remained virtually unchanged over the past 14 years, approximately 2.5 per 1,000 live births. Now, starting with the etiology, in the prenatal, there are the chances in the utrovascular event, maybe stroke, then congenital cytomegalovirus infection, and congenital brain malformation. As I have explained that the brain, the different part of the brain are affected, like cortex, the cerebellum, and the basal ganglia, so which will cause some congenital malformation. Then perinatal. In perinatal, it is associated with the severe neonatal infection, severe hypoglycemia, then untreated jaundice, in which there is a yellowing of the eyes, yellowing of the skin due to the excessive bilirubin in the blood. Then hypoxic encephalopathy of the neonates. Mainly, it is caused by any injury which interrupts the oxygenated blood in the intrauterine life. So hypoxia is occurred. Then ischemic condition, in which there is a shortage of the blood flow to the brain. And then encephalopathy means resulting in the damage to the brain. Now, meningitis is also one of the cause, in which there is in a brain dura mater, arachnoid matter, and pia mater is affected. In encephalitis, mainly the herpes virus, the viral encephalitis, and antepartum hemorrhage means while the mother conceives baby or during the pregnancy, in a normal pregnancy, the placenta will be a normal and cervix is not obstructed. While in the antepartum hemorrhage, if due to any injury, then there will be a placenta covering the cervix and preventing in a proper birth, means there will be a bleeding into the internal part of the placenta. So it will it also called as an antepartum hemorrhage, which is the one of the cause of the cerebral palsy. Now the postnatal causes: anoxic, insult, and septicemia. Then a cerebrovascular accident, like if there is a blockage in the internal carotid artery, then child abuse and accidental head trauma and the injuries. Now the prematurity. During the pregnancy, the mother are prone to in the various infection like malaise, influenza. So due to this infection, there are a release of some kind of a chemical mediator like interleukin-6, TNF, interleukin-1 and complementary C5 system. So there will be a placental chances of the placental insufficiency. So it will causes the low birth baby, and in this kind of condition, the in the early childhood may that if the child will be associated with the cerebral palsy, but also some other condition like impaired learning, communication skill is a less, and also there is a autism spectrum disorder is also associated. Then also it is associated with the schizophrenia and bipolar disorder and cardiovascular disorder in the adulthood, diabetes and the hypertension. Then premature deliveries, low birth weight, then role of inflammatory mediators, which I have explained, and also the other factors like chronic lung disease. If the normal lung, then the normal O2 delivery will be there. But in the disease, which is the bronchopulmonary disorder, so there will be a chances that the lungs will become a stiff, tissue will be a stiff and difficult to deliver the oxygen. So these are the chance. So this might be also one of the factor which causing the cerebral palsy. Now multiple pregnancy at a one time, it is also a major cause of the cerebral palsy. And also ectopic pregnancy means there is in the normal pregnancy, the embryo will be in the normal place and normal birth will be taken. But in the ectopic pregnancy, there will be a chances that embryo grow which causing the fallopian tube bulging. So it will also another cause of the cerebral palsy. So these were the etiology. Now coming to the classification, according to the degree of the affected area, it is divided into the mild, moderate, severe and no cerebral palsy. In a mild category, the affected child can move without the help and their daily routine remains unaffected. While in the moderate, the affected child will require the medication, supportive and adaptive technology such as the braces or to conduct their daily activities. Then severe, the child would require the wheelchair to assistance and will be unable to conduct the activities himself. Then no cerebral palsy, the child has the signs of CP, but they acquire them after the complete of the brain development by the definition. Now, there are three main types, which is a pyramidal, extrapyramidal and the mixed. In the pyramidal, it is originate from the motor area of the cerebral cortex. In a extrapyramidal, it is originated from the basal ganglia and the cerebellum, and in a mix in which there is both the type are involved. Now, according to the based of the anatomical involvement, the cerebral palsy is categorized into three types: spastic, dyskinetic, and ataxia. In a spastic type, there will be also categorized in a hemiplegia, diplasia, and the chondroplegia. In the hemiplegia, mainly there is a motor cortex will be affected, in which there is a one side of the limb are affected. In a diplasia, there is a lower limb are mainly affected, which means normal musculature movement and coordination will be not there. And in a chondroplegia, there will be upper two arms and lower legs are affected. So means four limbs are affected. So it is called as a chondroplegia. Now in a dyskinetic, it is again divided into the athetoid and dystonic, because the main area will be affected in athetoid and dystonic will be a basal ganglia of the brain. And the ataxic means mainly the cerebellum part of the brain is affected. Now I will be explained later one by one. Now, according to the motor function classification, in level 1, there is a walk without limitation. In level 2, walks with the limitation. Then level 3, walks using the handheld mobility device. In level 4, the self-mobility with the limitations may use the powered mobility. And in level 5, the transported in a manual wheelchair. Now, types of the cerebral palsy, as I have explained again, that the brain has a different part in which there is a mainly cerebral cortex, means the different type of the cerebral palsy like spasticity. Spasticity mainly affected the cortex area in which there is a muscles will become stiff and uncoordinated movement will be there. Then basal ganglia, mainly the dyskinesia, the dyskinetic type, it is involved in this. There is an uncontrollable movement according to the body posture. Then in cerebellum, mainly ataxia type, it is affected into the cerebellum, and there will be a poor muscle contractions and poor muscle balance. Then in a mixed type, means there is a combinations of a 2 or more type associated, and multiple area of the brain will be included. Now, I have already explained that what is the spastic, in which there is a tense contracted muscles are involved. Then in ataxic, there will be a chances that poor sense of the balance and often causing the falls and stimulus. Then in athetoid, mainly the frontal area of the brain is involved, in which there is a constant uncontrolled motion of the limb and head and eye. Then what is rigidity? A rigidity, it is a tight muscles that resist the effort to make them move. And a tremor, it is an uncontrollable shaking and interfering with the coordination. Now, modifications of the Swedish classification, it is categorized into the 3 types, as I have explained: spastic, dyskinetic, and ataxic. This spastic will be further categorized hemiplegic, tetraplegic, diplegic, which is also I have explained that in hemiplegic, one side involvement, tetraplegic, 3 limbs are involvement, and diplegia, lower limbs are involvement. Then dyskinetic, which include the chorioathletic and dystonic, and in ataxic, diplegia and the congenital syndrome. Now, spastic type, it is the mainly involve the 70 to 80% of the area of the brain, and the most common form of the muscles appear steep and tight and arises from the motor cortex, in which I have explained that 3 types: hemiplegia, diplegia, and the chondroplegia. Means hemiplegia means one side will be affected, one side will be a normal. In diplegia, lower limb are affected, and in the chondroplegia, 4 limbs affected, which when the patient is having this type, when he walks, his arms and head, even his mouth may be twisted strangely, and also the knee will be passed together, and the leg and the feet will turn inward. Now the dyskinetic, which is 2 type, athetosis and the chorioathetosis, means breathing movement. Approximately 15% of the cases is involved, in which there is a athetoid, mainly there is a basal ganglia of the brain, which I have shown into the figure, mainly involved, and it occurs in 0.27 per 1000 live births, often cause the kernicterus and frequently associated with the severe disabilities. And also with this kind of a cerebral palsy, there is a twisting and breathing involuntary movements are associated. Then athetosis, it is a slow breathing, continuous involuntary movement that affect the limbs, especially distally, but can also involve the axial musculature. Then chorea, it is involuntary, irregular, purposeless, non-rhythmic, abrupt movement, which is causing the rapid, unsustained movement that seems to flow from the one body part to the another body part. Means like a quick, jerky movement. Then palismus, it is the large amplitude movement which is involving the proximal part of the limb, which is causing the flaining and the falling movement. Now ataxic part. Ataxic type mainly involving the cerebellum, and it is the also associated with the uncoordinated movement. Like here in the figure, we can see that the ataxic patient, the walking style, we can analyze that to keep her balance, the child with ataxic walk bent forward with the feet wide apart, and she walk irregularly steps like a sailor on the rough sea or someone who is in drunk position. Now, this kind of a patient will chances have a poor sense of the balance and uncoordinated voluntary movement. Example, stumbling, staggering gait, or difficulty in the grasping the objects. Now, mixed type of the cerebral palsy associated with different area of the brain, and it is mainly affected the cerebral cortex, basal ganglia, and the cerebellum, which all the type I have explained. So it is the combination of all of them. So it is a mainly combination of the spastic, athetoid, and the chondroplegia. Now, what is rigidity? The clinical features, it occurs in a 5% of the cases. It is caused by the lesions of the basal ganglia, manifested by the constant rigidity. Voluntary movements are slow and stiff, and it persists to resist to flexion and external movement. Now, tremor. Tremor, it is the present in about also 5% of the cases. It is caused by the lesions of the cerebellum. The distinguished characteristic is a repetitive, rhythmic, involuntary contractions of the flexure and extension muscles. Now, early signs of the cerebral palsy. In the infancy to 0 to 3 months, if we child hold, then it will be a U-shaped, the position will be in a U-shape or characterized by the soft flappy muscles. Then also excessive lethargy and irritability and high pitch cry, poor head control, And also weak suck, tongue thrust, tonic bite, and feeding difficulties are there. These are the early signs. Now, associated problem. As I have already explained that the cerebral palsy is a non-progressive disease, but it is also associated some other disease like hearing and visual impairment, sensory integrations problem, means child having the problem with the communication, understanding, and the mental retardation also sometimes associated, and also feeding problem. Then this kind of a patient have a emotional disturbances. They are frequently prone to the anxiety. Also, they have a mood swings. Then eating disorder, and sometimes psychiatric also disorder are there. So they are unable to do the behavior properly, or a communications also a major problem. So since I have told that their muscle coordination movement was not proper, so their bladder and bowel movements are also lost. Means the proper sensation which should be passing through the brain to the bladder and bowel movement, there are not there. So there will be a disturbances of the bladder and bowel movement also. Now digestive problem. Due to the gastroesophageal reflex in the healthy patient, there will be a digestive system normal. But in the gastroesophageal reflexes, there will be a sphincter open. And this kind of things is mainly cerebral palsy patients are having. Now skeletal deformities, because this kind of a patients have a poor coordination, so they are not able to eat properly, feeding properly, so proper vitamin sources are not there. So skeletal deformity like osteoporosis is also there. Then I have already told that some associated disorder like mental retardation, learning disabilities, and seizure and epilepsy is also there. Now oral manifestation. This kind of a patient have a chances due to this spastic movement, they are prone to taking some drug like phenytoin, phenobarbital, etc. So there will be a chances that patients have a gingival hyperplasia in the cerebral palsy patient. Also, there will be a mouth will be open wide and jaw dislocation. And due to gastroesophageal reflexes, there will be a chances that pH will be high. So in a teeth, there will be a erosion. So there is a loss of a tooth structure. Then this kind of a patients have a habit of clenching the teeth. So bruxism also there. Then excessive salivation and calculus, because they are not maintaining the proper hygiene, and drooling of saliva, it is the one of the major problem. And dental decay also, because they are not proper brushing also, they are not properly clean their mouth. So now one article from the developmental medicine and child neurology, the risk factor for the dental caries among the child with the cerebral palsy in a low resource setting, Rehna Akhtar et al. The aim was to describe the oral health status and investigate the factor affecting dental caries experience among the children with cerebral palsy in the rural Bangladesh. And they have concluded that the early oral health preventive care is required for the children with the CP, because the dental caries is a highly prevalent in this. Then another article by the Sarah H. et al. The occlusal characteristic in the group of the children with the cerebral palsy in the Alexandria, Egypt. Also, and they have done a study, and they have concluded that the cerebral palsy children had a convex facial profile, class 2 cuspid relationship comparison to the healthy children. Also, they have a prone to anteriorly open bite, overbite, and overjet. And the posterior occlusal relationship may be normal with the healthy children. And also there will be a chances that severity of the neuromuscular deficiency risk factor and malocclusions in the cerebral palsy patient. Now now the another article, the effect of the cerebral palsy and the dental caries on the dental plaque index, salivary parameter, and oxidative stress in the children and adolescents by the European Archive of the Pediatric Dentistry 2020. And they have concluded that the cerebral palsy exert an influence on the salivary profile, oral health, and oxidative stress. So this patient have a chance that acidic saliva, so there will be a chances of a high dental plaque index, which were positively correlated with the caries activity. And this kind of a patients are associated with the high salivary level of the reactive species and lipid peroxidations, which is demonstrate that the imbalance in the salivary redox that particularly associated with the caries activity. Now also these kind of a patients are hypotonic. So the cerebral palsy are tensely reclined head, the flat protruded and large tongue along with the inactive upper lip and weak facial musculature is seen. Also the mouth opens with the tense facial movement and the mouth opens, yes. Then another systemic manifestation, which is included the neurological status, which I have explained that it is associated with some other disorder also. Then in a mucoskeletal problem such as a joint contracture develop most frequently seen. Then hip subluxation, then scoliosis. It is the another common orthopedic complications with the CP, in which there is a asymmetric muscles imbalance, posture, and other structural factor. Then also the nutritional and oromotor control also will be there, as I told that they are proper eating habits and inability to feeding and eating and swallowing also. So there will be a less nutrition are reached to them. So growth also hamper, and gastrointestinal problem, genitourinary problem also are there. Like in quadriplegic patient, they have put on the long term of the diapers due to the urinary incompetence and poor sphincter control. Then how to evaluate? Now the evaluations of the suspected cerebral palsy, the history and the examination suggestive the CP means we have to ask the thorough history. By asking the history, if we diagnose that patient have according to all the what I have explained, that prenatal, postnatal, all these etiologic factor and genetic history, and by the clinical performance, if we evaluate that patient will have a cerebral palsy, then after we can classify that which type of cerebral palsy is there. That patient is having a spastic, or whether maybe patient is having a ataxic or athetoid, which kind of a hemiplegia, diplegia, which kind of a cerebral palsy, we have to evaluate that. Then after we have to also look for that the patient having the mental retardation or any visual or hearing impairment, or also any developmentally delayed means language understanding problem. So we have to also look for that. Then after we have to go the neuroimaging system, in which we have to evaluate the metabolic and genetic workup, in which there is the episodes of the metabolic decompensation, then etiologic on the medical examinations, and family history of the childhood neurological disease, and which is associated with the cerebral palsy. Then abnormal neuroimaging, we have to look for that. Then if there is a developmental malformation, genetic evaluation also will be looked for. Then previous stroke of evaluations of the coagulopathy and other risk factor also we have to evaluate. Then after evaluation, we have to look for some reflexes like the starter Moro reflex, tonic neck reflex, strapping reflex, and the grasping reflex. Now, the three most common reactions which are the dentist should recognize, these are the follow, like tonic neck reflexes. This is the reflex in which there is a head is a one side, and the arm and the leg on the other side are extended opposite to the limb flexed. So when the child head is turned to the one side, the arm that side will be a straighten and the opposite arm will be a bend. This kind of a reflex mainly continue to the 6 months of the age, and upper motor, due to the upper motor neuron, the tonic neck reflex is a precursor of the infant for the CP. So we can look for it. Then tonic limb wreathing reflex, in which there is a head suddenly falls backward while the patient is a supine, and the legs and arm will be a straighten out. Now starter reflex, the other terminology for the starter reflex like the Moro reflex, also called as a Moro reflex, then startle response, starter reflex, and embrace reflex. This kind of a mainly reflex is seen present at the birth and normally disappeared after 3 to 4 months. This reaction is produced when means there is a when we hold the child, the head will be a bend, and the arms and means the extremities are the extended outward. And this reaction is mainly produced when the patient is surprised by the stimuli, such as a sudden noise or unexpected voice. Then mucoskeletal abnormality, we have to look for that also, like assess the toxicity of the upper limb, then evaluations of the limbs that include the rotational, flexion, adduction, abduction, and the length of the two legs. Then active and passive range of the motion should be also measured. Then in a spastic patient, the tibia versus or the heel along with the plantar flexus spasticity also we have to check. And the kyphosis scoliosis means there will be, we have to see that uneven shoulder, then curve in the spine, and uneven hip or the dislocations of the hip bone. We also look for it. Then after coming to the investigation, we will go for the laboratory tests like thyroid test, lactic pyruvate level, organic and amino acid testing, chromosomal testing, blood pH after the birth can useful to indicate the severity of the perinatal event. Then MRI is a preferred for the following white matter disease because it allowed to visualizations of the myelin and sulci. Then neuroimaging. The CT is helpful for the diagnosis congenital malformations and intracranial hemorrhage. Then the cranial ultrasound, it is indicated that which provides the information of the ventricular system, basal ganglia, then corpus callus, and case of the periventricular hemorrhage. Then after that, coming to the management, as I have already explained that the CP is a non-progressive but associated so many disorder. Likewise, the management of this disorder, it is also multidisciplinary, which include the pediatrician, speech therapist, neurophysician, counselor, and physiotherapist, and pediatric dentist also. Now, we have to look for the control spasticity. Control spasticity, which include the selective dorsal rhizotomy. So there will be we will do the selective rhizotomy. So it will help to relax the muscle. Then intrathecal Balcon, botulinum A toxin. Then some medication like the dantrolene, Flexeril, anti-epileptic drugs such as the phenytoin, sodium valproate, and carbenzapine. Then we have to do some physical therapy. Like this, we have to do some physical therapy for improve the body structure and also for the gait, and help to child to coordinate the muscles properly. Then orthotics. These are the devices like ankle foot orthosis, which will help to stand child properly, and child will have to stand, and also there will be a corrections of the some developmental deformity of the body. And like for an example, mainly the spasticity type of cerebral palsy will be corrected by this kind of devices. Now in the market, there is a shoe orthodontics type of devices are also available. The children have to wear like a shoe type, and there will be a corrected some deformities. Then orthopedic surgeries. In orthopedic surgery, certain goals are there, like reduce spasticity in a selective manner because it increases the muscle tone and sometimes be helpful. Then correct the contracture that hinder the function and interference. Then simplify the control system. Preserve the power generators and correct the subluxation and dislocations of the joints, most commonly hip. Now, for the orthopedic surgery, the timing is also important. Like example, the hip displacement, mainly 7 to 9 years, they are doing the surgery, orthopedic surgery. But the best functional outcome is achieved between the age of 4 to 6. So, the best result also we can occupy by this. Now, the corrections of the femoral and tibial torsion. A femoral or a derotational osteotomy is the indicated when there is a clinical significant internal rotation gait. Maybe there is a squinting patella due to the increased femoral eversion. So these are this is also corrected. Then ankle and foot, in which there is a inguinoplano valgus. The surgical technique for the hallux valgus, which include the first metatarsal pharyngeal joint arthroids and proximal first metatarsal osteotomy. Then distal soft tissue, which release the exostory to the bunion. Then knee, in a knee, the purpose of the rectus femoris transfer in the child with the stiff knee gait. It is improve the magnitude and timing of the swing peak knee flexion that leads to the improvement of the foot clearance during the swing phase. And also a hip problem means if the child is with the CP which have a hip dislocation like hip subluxation or a hip dislocation, so this kind of a child have a seizure gait. So this also, the gait will be also improved and the body structure and coordination movement also be improved by the orthopedic surgery. Now one article for the International Journal of the Pediatric Dentistry, a constipation anti-epileptic drug and gingivitis in children and adolescents with the cerebral palsy, and they have concluded that the mucosal inflammations evidenced by the constipations and gingivitis is associated with the most neurological compromise CS under use of a GABA. Then goals and the management, mainly 0 to 2 year management should be include the physiotherapy, stimulations of the infant, positioning and educating for the parents. Then in 2 to 5 years, the way to decrease the muscle tone should be courage to make the child ambulatory. Then in the 5 year onwards, the orthopedic intervention, as I have explained, can be start as the pain and discomfort secondary to spasticity because the predominantly during the teenage year. Now coming to the dental management, if the patient is coming to the clinic and it is a cerebral, when we diagnose the cerebral palsy, that in the dental chair we have to make him a relax, we have to support his head and control the extremity. We have to make him a, we have to give him a non-fearful environment. We have to talk with him, make to adapt. So, or the positions also, it is important while doing the treatment, and treatment should be done step by step. Then, in a first, it should be a friendly visit. early morning appointment is also can be indicated. And also initially it will be a shortening period of time, and then we will be go for the progressive procedure. Then if the patient is coming with the cerebral means coming with the chair, then directly like for the we have to take the x-ray, then directly we have to bend the chair and take the x-ray. So there will be a we cannot means it will not hamper our work, and also there will be a unwanted movement would be not there. Then for the head support and extremity position, there will be some immobilized device also we can use. Then counseling of the patient is a very important. Like if the patient is come along with a caretaker or whomsoever or a parents, we have to make them understand and also counsel the child. Then with the starting treatment, we have to follow the non-pharmacological behavior first, in which we have to stabilize the extremity, head supports, and then we have to explain the procedure step by step. In which there we have to go for the tell shoot or technique, and verbal command also may help, because this kind of a patient have a means a involuntary movement and jerky movement. So while doing the dental procedure, there are a chances that some foreign particles or a dental instrument, they will be a inject. So it will be it will causing some complication during the surgery. So for that, for the ease of the operation, this kind of patient, we use some for the mouth opening, mouth probes, molten mouth probes, then protective stabilization to control the body extremity like triangular sheets, straps, pedi wrap, and mainly the patient who have a hypotonic and severe spasticity, we can use the beanbag dental chair. Now home dental care, as I will explain, the counseling is main important. Then as a pediatric dentist, if the child is come along with the parents, then we have to perform the brushing technique into the model. We have to explain the brushing technique like horizontal and scrub method are mainly. And we also, if there is an infant, we have to educate the parents that after the feeding, we have to wipe the child's cavity with the cotton cloth, and also clean maintenance of the oral hygiene. And this kind of a patients, there are maybe chances they are unable to do the brushing by themselves, so electronic brush are indicated. Now, one article from the International Journal from the Pediatric Dentistry, the oral health is the oral health in a preschool children with a cerebral palsy, a case control community-based study in which they have assessed compare the oral health of the preschool children and with or without cerebral palsy, and they have concluded that the difference of the oral health status exhibit among the preschool children with and without CP, and the preschool children few worse in the terms of gingival health, tooth wear, and oral mucosal health and malocclusion. Now, the another article from the International Journal of the Clinical Pediatric Dentistry, the conscious sedations with the nitrous oxide. As I have explained in the management earlier, we have to first go with the non-pharmacological behavior. If the child is uncooperative and we finding some problem, then we can go for the nitrous oxide and the general anesthesia. So here, the article, the conscious sedation with the nitrous oxide to control the stress during the dental treatment in the patients with the CP, and the experimental clinical trial by the Fernando M. et al. They have concluded that the conscious sedations with the N2O during the dental care control the stress in the CP patient, and as verified by the decrease the during the treatment, means they have decreased the heart rate and does not promote the respiratory depression. So higher concentrations of the N2O are recommended in the CP patient with the tachycardia. Now another article from the Journal of the Family Medicine and Care, the management of the foreign body ingested in the children with the cerebral palsy, need for the proper trauma management, by the Vishnu Prasad et al. In a case report, there is a 10-year boy with the and they have done some extraction treatment, and there is accidentally the child is permanently incisor following trauma, and diagnosis accidentally into the abdominal radiograph. And then the abdominal radiograph was repeated after 24 hours. And after 3 days, the tooth-like radiopacity was revealed in the descending colon. And the stool was examined for the presence of the tooth on the fourth day. And the presence of the tooth in the stool was identified. And subsequently, the abdominal radiograph was clear. Now, when the second report from the same article, this is the 14-year girl is coming. And while doing the dental treatment, there is a accidentally ingestions of the head of the mouth mirror during the examination. So this is the radiograph which is showing the this is the posterior anterior x-ray of the chest which is showing the mouth mirror was found to the lodged into the stomach, body of the stomach. And considering the age and the medical history, the patient is a plan for the treatment, for the conservative treatment first decided. Then the patient was kept under the observation for the semi-solid diet and the liquid food item. Then regular assessment of the serial radiography were taken from the interval 24-hour, 48-hour, 4th and 6th day. And on the 6th day, the dental mirror was diffracted and the patient was reviewed after the week and no discomfort was found. So these complications can be reduced by the careful immobilizations, head extremity and children who are more prone to the sudden movement, as I have explained in my management. Now, one another article from the Indonesia Journal in which there is a case report that general anesthesia in the dental management of the child with the cerebral palsy. Here, the 15-year boy come with the chief complaint of the recurrent painful abscess in the mandibular molar with her mother and grandmother. So, in elaborated the intraoral examination, there will be in photograph we can show the multiple gangrene radix and there is a multiple pulpitis and gingivitis. So after patient was uncooperative and severe spasticity and also associated with the autism spectrum disorder. So they have first of all they have decided to do the non-pharmacological treatment, but since the look for the patient's condition, they have decided doing patient in the general anesthesia. So first they have intervened all the blood examination and all the tests were normal. So then they have go ahead with the procedure. Then they have do the monitoring device with the ECG, then pulse oximeter, sphygmomanometer, thermometer, then end tidal CO2 were attached to the patient. Then they have give the antibiotic cefazolin 2 gram prophylaxis, then NaCl 0.9%, 100 ml on 1 hour before the procedure for the 15 minutes. Then they have checked that. Now I am continuing. No movements or a spontaneous respirations by the patients was observed during the procedure. No additional muscles relaxants were administered. The dental procedures were restorations with a flowable composite 7 teeth and extractions of 15 gangrene done. In this picture, we can see there is an extracted gangrene radix photo. Then the scaling of the maxilla and mandibular region is done and preventive treatment with the topical fluoride application is done. And sockets were sutures with the absorbing stitching and the treatment was take 2 hours long and the anesthetic procedures lasted for 2 to 5 years. Now 5 hours. Now this is the peak which is showing the 1 week follow-up and the patient was scheduled for the follow-up in the 3 next month. Loyola Rodriguez et al. In 2004, he has concluded that the general anesthesia with the use of the sevoflurane, propofol and conscious sedation is an excellent means of providing dental treatment in the children with the CP without most of the major post-operative complication. Now, one article from the European Archie Pediatric Dentistry 2020, the physiologic and behavioral signs during the dental appointments in the children and teenagers with the cerebral palsy, a comparative cross-sectional study. The aim was to evaluate the heart rate and behavior of the children and teenagers with the cerebral palsy when having a dental appointment. And they have concluded that the individuals with the cerebral palsy have a higher heart rate before and during the clinical sessions and are frequently more uncooperative with the procedures than the normotypical individuals. Thus, I would like to conclude that my seminar, starting with the definitions of the CP, it is the non-progressive disorder and associated some variety of the disorder like mental retardation, intellectual disability, epileptic seizures, and some types of the cerebral palsy like spastic, ataxic, hemiplegia, diplegia, chondroplegia. And also we have to look for some clinicals and oral manifestation finding which are suggestive of the CP, and for that we need to evaluate. For the evaluation, there are some tests also, and also clinical features which help, and also we need to know the etiologic factor which is comprises of the perinatal, postnatal, and prenatal birth injury or intrauterine complications while during the pregnancy, or which will causes of the cerebral palsy, and also the management. The management in like medical management, like orthopedic surgery, there is a hip dislocations and all. We have to do the orthopedic surgery. Then physiotherapist, since it is multidisciplinary, the speech therapist and counselor and pediatricians is also involved. Then orthosis also we can give, like ankle foot orthosis also we can give, and physiotherapy which will help the coordinations of the movement and corrective of the gait. Then medication therapy, in which there is a seizures and epileptic anticonvulsant, phenytoin and etc. Then go for the dental management. In dental management, there is a non-pharmacological behavior we can apply, and for the stabilization, we can give the head support and extremity support, the dental chair position, Also the Velcro strip and the papoose board also for the stabilization, and for the procedural mouth probe also we can see. Then counseling of the patient and communications and improve the behavior so that the child will be less fearful. And then step by step we have to go for the first non-pharmacological behavior management, and if the child is uncooperative and not understanding, then we have to go for the general anesthesia. So we have to take care of it. Thank you.